Hi everyone, Paul from Local Tax Marketers here. In this video, I'm going to talk about Canada's anti-spam legislation, or CASL for short, and SMS marketing in Canada. I'll be right back in just a couple of seconds. Stick around. Please don't go anywhere. All right, you're still here. Welcome back, and thanks so very much for sticking around. I really do appreciate it. Now, before I start my discussion, I have to point out the obvious here. I'm not a lawyer. I do not play one on the internet. I do not play one on YouTube. Use this information in my video as the first step in your due diligence into Canada's anti-spam legislation, and always consult with your own lawyer before making any decisions related to SMS marketing in Canada. Okay, having said that, let's dig into the discussion on CASL, or Canada's anti-spam legislation. CASL is fundamentally a law about consent. Consent in this case refers to the permission that must be granted by your clients in order for you to send them marketing messages. CASL allows for two types of consent. The first is called express consent. Express consent is pretty easy to understand. Your customer provides you with explicit permission to send them marketing messages. Express consent can be provided in a number of ways. The first is digitally. In other words, a client can sign a digital document, or use an online form, or subscribe to a marketing campaign through a handset-initiated opt-in. What's a handset-initiated opt-in? Well, for example, if you have a pizza shop and your client texts the word pizza to a number to get an instant coupon in exchange for regular marketing messages, that is considered express consent. The second way express consent can be provided is by physically signing a document of some sort. Lastly, express consent can also be given orally, although it will be up to you to document such permissions in case you are ever challenged on them. Express consent is pretty simple, right? Now let's talk about the other type of consent allowed by CASL, implied consent. Implied consent is based upon an existing business relationship. But it's not just any business relationship, it's a business relationship where the last transaction has occurred within the last 2 years. So to confirm, you have your client's implied consent to send them marketing messages if you have a business relationship with them, and if the date of the last transaction is within the last 2 years. If the last transaction occurred outside of that 2-year period, you do not have the legal right to message them. Okay, so it gets better. Implied consent can expire. For example, if I come into your place of business and purchase something from you, you have my implied consent to send me marketing message for a period of 2 years from the date of that transaction, after which your permission to do so will expire, unless I purchase something else from you during that 2-year period. In that case, the 2-year time period is reset to the date of the most recent transaction, and the countdown begins again. Now, obviously, managing implied consent is a complete logistical nightmare. And understandably, when this law came out, business owners were completely freaked out by how easy it would be to violate the law, albeit inadvertently, and therefore be subject to huge fines and penalties. Now, almost 5 years since CASL's inception, it appears that these concerns weren't really warranted. And let me tell you why I think that is. Having implied consent to message your clients doesn't mean he or she doesn't retain the right to opt out or unsubscribe from your messages at any time. To be legal, all commercial text messages sent in Canada need to have a one-step unsubscribe option included. That's the reply stop to end that you see, or at least you should see, at the end of every commercial text message. So, if during that 2-year permission period, I find your messages don't provide value, or I'm no longer interested in what you're offering, or I think you're messaging me too often, or whatever, I can unsubscribe by replying stop. Now, if I'm still receiving your messages after the 2-year permission period expires, then obviously they must still be providing value to me, or I would have unsubscribed ages ago, right? So what does this all mean? Well, under CASL, it's pretty clear. You're breaking the law if you're messaging outside of the 2-year permission period of implied consent. But practically, it means that you're unlikely to run into any problems doing so, because the people who don't want to hear from you will have unsubscribed ages ago, and the people who are still receiving your messages must find them valuable and, as a result, won't be filing a complaint against you. It's inconceivable to me that a client who has been happily receiving your marketing messages for 2 years is going to be outraged when she receives a message from you at 2 years plus 1 day. Of course, as I noted at the beginning of this video, I am not a lawyer and I'm certainly not advising you to break the law. However, I think it's important to put implied consent in proper context so you don't get scared off by it. Of course, implied consent is tricky business with text messages because of the relationships people have with their phones. Just because you have the legal right to message your clients and customers doesn't mean they're going to appreciate it. In fact, one of the easiest ways to damage your brand, alienate your clients, and generally piss people off is to start sending them text messages out of the blue. That's because unlike unwanted emails, which are pretty common and not particularly intrusive, text messages bypass your clients' filters and end right up in their personal spaces. Cell phones aren't merely communication devices. They're not like landlines. They are the control center of people's lives. People have an intimate relationship with their phones. On average, they check them 150 times per day. Plus, text messages normally originate from people within their immediate social circle. And when they do not, and when they come unannounced, it's not a good thing. If you're going to start messaging clients out of the blue based on implied consent, the first message you send is absolutely critical. Otherwise, you risk alienating your clients and damaging your brand. If you need help with that initial message, just let us know. We'll be happy to help. You can contact us on our website, localtextmarketers.com. All right, everyone, there you have it, a quick discussion on Canada's anti-spam legislation and SMS marketing in Canada. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below. If you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up or a share would be appreciated. If you're looking for a Canadian SMS solution, by all means, please check us out at localtextmarketers.com. Oh, and if you want to be updated whenever we post new videos, please click the subscribe button below. Thanks so much for watching.